morning and God bless you. Welcome to our Bible study and reading sessions. May God keep blessing you and yours in Jesus' name. We are looking at why and when to pray. Why and when to pray. Come on, let's do some prayers. When you're looking for favor, you should pray. If you are trusting God for favor, you should pray about it. Or the key to people's hearts, you should pray about it. When you're going to meet somebody, the Bible says that the heart of the kings is in the hands of the Lord. And like streams of water flowing, he directs it to wherever he wants to. You want to go and meet a king, you want to ask a favor from the king, you pray to God to give you favor, because he can still deny it. For example, the Bible says that he who finds wife findeth goodness and obtaineth favor from the Lord. If you find a wife, you find a good thing, and you obtain favor from the Lord. So marital favor also comes from God. Marital favor comes from God. Sometimes you see that somebody may be married, and after some time you'll be wondering, married, and the husband doesn't have favor you anymore, but he was once dying for you. You pray for favor. To have favor before God and man should be a prayer point to you. For example, Genesis chapter 29, Genesis 29, from verse 16, it says, and Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah. The name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. Leah wasn't beautiful. She had crossed eyes. But Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. So ordinarily, when people are looking for whom to marry, they will marry the one who is well-favored, who is beautiful. But sometimes there are some things that it boosts favor in people, like beauty boosts favor. We will see it in the Bible, but we're not doing it today. Beauty boosts favor. Wisdom boosts favor. Good character boosts favor. But there are those who even have the best of business and there's not a favored. I've seen those who talk about beautiful, they are very beautiful, but not married. About educated and beautiful and not married. And educated, beautiful with a good job, not married. Educated, beautiful with good job and money, still not married. Sometimes everything that should be in place to make you favored will be in place to make favored, and yet they're not favored. Favor comes from the Lord. There are those who are disfavored, naturally disfavored. No matter what they do, people don't see something good in them. Even when they are the best, they don't see something good in them. So Leah was cross-eyed, so her sister was beautiful, and naturally, because of her beauty, she was better favored, well-favored. You see, you can have different degrees of favor. Have favor and well-favored. So she was well-favored, favored very well. And if you look at verse 31 to 35, 31 to 35. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, so she wasn't beautiful, so there was no delight in her. Though she was married, but she was married to, even though it wasn't even her fault that she married, she wasn't planning to get married to Jacob. It was the father's miscalculations, the father's dubious nature that pushed her to Jacob. And even after marriage, Jacob still didn't love her, fighting to get love from her husband. First to get favor from her husband. So she married with her sister, and the younger sister who was respecting her husband, they was busy in family until Laban decided doing all this muchi he did and pushed her on him. And I don't even blame Laban, I blame Jacob. You were given a wife, you didn't talk to her, you entered into her in the night. You didn't even give me a woman that I paid you, then I'm going out to my wife. So it was catching you that time. Once you married the woman, you didn't even ask her, you just went and slept with her in the night. What if you had asked her, who are you? What if you had started talking with her? Then you'd have known that she wasn't the one that was supposed to have been giving you. What's the meaning of that? I blame Jacob for all this nonsense. How can you be giving a woman and you don't know whom you are giving to until the next morning? How depraved can somebody be? The next morning, he felt cheated, and because he felt cheated, he didn't even though he may not have been worrying with her otherwise, he now didn't like her or he now hated her. You're marrying a man that hates you, and you can't go out there. Everything has been done. He didn't hate you before, he now hates you after marriage. Very common. Very common. Once he violates you, he can't. That's what happened to David's and as soon as he violated someone, he hated her more than loved her before. Very common. Now we not say what this person that was dying for you before. Why what's the love that he was dying for you before? Was not the one dying for you before. So why is not dying for you anymore? It's about favor in marriage. I'm not talking about marriage, I'm just not talking about favor in marriage. Retaining the favor that you had. Sometimes if you don't have it, you pray about it. The man married you when he was dying for you. Now he has married you, maybe you have 2 or 3 children, and he doesn't feel towards you anymore. He just wants to go out. Doesn't favor you anymore. Verse 31. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, so God it was much that God noted it. It was much that God himself noted that Leah was hated. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for he said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. He won't love you. Now you gave me a child doesn't mean that he will love you. If you are ill-favored, you are ill-favored. And those who are not favored, even after that, did he love you? He didn't love her. So quit competing when you are not favored and go and pray. Quit competing when you are not favored and go and pray. Quit competing and go and pray. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, surely the Lord had do the woman. That's the truth. God had seen your affliction. So if you are ill-favored, it's an affliction. If you don't have favor, it's an affliction. If you lack favor, especially from those who are supposed to favor you, who are supposed to love you, you don't like it, it's an affliction. It batters your mind. But let's not throw you to competition. Let's not throw you to competition. Throw you to prayer, not competition. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, because the Lord had heard that I was hated, and therefore giving me the son. Also she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again and bore a son, and now this time my husband will be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. All those children she was bearing and giving names to didn't translate to love. He still didn't love her. Not at all. Say even when I said Jerry her face was after Rachel has died. That was not the only wife remaining. Rachel died after giving birth to Benjamin Benon. But what did he now do? He transferred the right of the firstborn to Joseph. The right of Reuben, he gave it to Joseph, the son of Rachel whom he loved. Always said, Rachel, my wife. He was who? Sometimes you're not, being female is a disadvantage to some extent, yes. Go and now look at the internet, all things about females. How females shouldn't wear trousers, and trousers is a sin. It's not a sin for a man to wear it, but if a female wears it, it's a sin. So what becomes a sin is now gender-based. If a woman wears trousers, she's sinning. If a man wears it, he's not sinning. If a man preaches, he's doing well. If a female preaches, it's a sin. It's forbidden for a female to preach. forbidden for females to preach. In fact, in the place where I come from, it's forbidden for females to stand up and urinate. You must squat down. So that's what they want to describe. They say the creature that squats urinates. That's what they call females in their place. You can't stand up. My preference will beat you that day. Why are you standing up to urinate? Are you a man? It's a privilege for the males to stand up to urinate, but females must squat down to urinate. Yes. If your parents catch you standing up to urinate, you tell them, you have started any bad practice. No, one day. So that was what was used to describe the feminine race. What was it there? The race that the gender that squats do. My cousin will tell me, imagine that she cannot listen to a being that squats down to urinate. That's what they describe and humanize females. And your husband doesn't love you, he marries again, and you don't love him, you cannot even leave. Yeah, they say you have to stay because of your children. So you see, being a female, even if you read this Bible, if you're a female, there are things that are anti-females in this Bible, so that you have no choice than to get to God and cling to God and pray for things to change to us, because this society is not for females. If you see a female minister, if you see what they go through in ministry, sometimes some of them, I've seen some ministries that females have become sex toys to the GOs to be able to be given a platform to manifest. No matter of months because they're female. The female go and pray. Go and pray. Some of them have lost their ministry since they're married. Even if they were doing the ministry before the marriage, once they're married, the ministry is closed down. Now whatever the husband said that will happen. Meanwhile, when he was coming for you, he was telling you, once I married you, two of us will go as soon as you finish marriage. And bring the case to the pastor. Anybody wants to bring it, they tell you to submit to your husband. I was already a minister for several years before I got married. And after I got married, men of God were coming to impose on me to hand over my ministry to my husband. That he's now the male. Should take over my ministry. That she's now the male. That I should submit to him. I hand over to him. My husband himself being very wise. I was willing to, because I don't like contention. So I told my husband, okay, see that now everybody said I should hand over my ministry to you. He said, count me out. I heard God told him, go and help her. I said, no, but the fellow males, one of them even traveled all the way to come to my house to impose the transition, my ministry to my husband. And when he couldn't achieve it, what he now did was that, he said he now prayed, and when he couldn't do it, he now cancelled my ministry, told God to close it down. The man I invited to come and minister in my ministry, because he felt that what I was doing was, said that what God gave me was a masculine work. And since he couldn't hand it over to my husband, the person was to close down the ministry. For a female, start praying for God to show you mercy and favor you, or else males will disfavor you. And that's why I don't go anywhere without my husband. I go everywhere with my husband. Everywhere I go to has to be there. Because males are always looking for females to devour in ministry. Many people who are supposed to do, many of the things people who come from ministers have become sex toys to males, just to manifest, just to give you platforms. The ministry that will make me to let the ministry be closed down cannot. So all the efforts they did from different quarters to impose, my husband said no. So what they left me when my husband said very low. So I even called him and said, I want to hand over to you. He said, not me. Say, you want me to die? The things I do, can I do them? Tell me the things I do, can I do them? And I imposed on me to hand it over to him. He doesn't want to die. So there's no referee there. But people, all the major will be telling you, females shouldn't preach. Females shouldn't even let their voice not be heard. What is God telling you? And you are doing well before you get married. If you are about to get, if you're a minister of the gospel, you are called by God and you want to get married, better pray. I tell you, better pray. My cousin would say, I tell you very, very, I say to you. Very, very, I say to you. Because sometimes the person that marries you can determine whether the ministry will be closed down or whether it will continue. And if he begins to deceive you and begin to make life miserable for you, even you for the sake of the peace of your home, you want to close it down or do it the way he wants it. Before your marriage, pray. Don't marry a man that would destroy you or doesn't love you. And giving birth to several children for a man doesn't make him to love you. If he doesn't love you, he doesn't love you. If you want, give birth to John the Baptist for him, he still doesn't love you. Give birth to Mary, Virgin Mary for him, he still wouldn't mind love you. He doesn't love you. All that she was doing to procure love. Remember that eventually when they were not doing turn by turn, the son Reuben went and got mandrakes. And then because mandrakes was attached to fertility, was said to be fruit that makes people fertile. So he went and picked mandrakes. And then Rachel saw him and asked for mandrakes. The mother Leah went to be sick. My sons were. It's okay, because of this thing, I went to sleep with my husband this night. They were rotary him. Imagine rotary him. And so as Jacob was coming in, Lee withstood him. You must live with me tonight, because I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. So you're not hiring your husband. It's because you're not loved. Rachel said, I will not give my husband to sleep with you today. For your son's mandrakes. Even after giving birth to all those children for him, if it's not the children that make him to love you. If he doesn't love you, he doesn't love you. That's it. Esther chapter 2. Esther chapter 2. Verse 15. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Hegai the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed, and Esther obtained favor in the sight of all of them that looked upon her. So she was well favored. Esther was well favored. So when she was going to marriage, she was being prepared by the eunuchs so that she could look. Everybody was being prepared so that each person would look her best and represent to the king. The king will now choose whoever favored most or loved most as his wife. Others will return to the eunuch and live with them there. At the beginning, Esther was well favored. So Esther was taken into King Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is in the month of Tebet, the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women. You can see, at first sight, he loved Esther. At first sight, he loved Esther. At first sight, he loved Esther above all the men, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. So she was well favored. The king loved her. The king loved her more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. So she replaced Vashti. She replaced Vashti. The king loved her so much. When the virgins were gathered together at the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes, and his feast, even Esther's feast. The king made a great feast. No, he made a feast before, which Vashti was dethroned. Now made a feast to enthrone Esther. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. So he gave gifts almost like a wedding. And Esther was greatly beloved, well favored, well graced before the king this time. If you now look at chapter 4, verse 6 to 17, Esther chapter 4, from verse 6 to 17, when that evil the copy of the of the documents that permitted the Jews to be killed, which Haman procured using his means and ways to make the king endorse it. When it was signed, Mordecai got wind of it, and Mordecai started crying, wailing and weeping. From verse 6 of chapter 4, so Hathach went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, and which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasury for the Jews to destroy them. And he gave the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Susan, destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. Remember that at this time, Esther was still hiding whom she was, because Mordecai said she should not make known whom she was. And when this happened, Mordecai was supposed to come to the king's gate wearing rough clothes or mourning clothes, but he did because it was mourning. And when Esther said, how can this man do this? He now gave the reasons. Already, in fact, she even sent clothes for him to use to cover himself. See, before now, why are you giving me clothes? It wasn't an issue of not having clothes to wear. That Haman had made some documents which authorized him to destroy the Jews, and he would still pay money to the king for destroying the Jews. And the king accepted it. Can you imagine that? Meanwhile, this document that was written, Esther was the queen. She didn't see it. I thought that the queen was supposed to see some of those things, but she didn't see it. This was the girl that was initially highly favored before the husband. Sometimes the favor may die or may be decreased, but you know what to do to bring it back. And he told her to tell Esther to go into her husband the king. Being the queen, not the queen, being not just king's mother, but being the queen, the wife of the king, she should go and make supplication for her people. And Hathach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again, Esther spoke unto Hathach and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and people of the king's provinces do know that whatsoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death. Even the queen, supposed wife, must be invited officially to see her husband. What kind of thing is that? The wife of the king cannot access the king anytime. After they finish all those ceremonies, you that will be here. So what they are passing through here, what they are passing through, you don't know. You are just envying them because of the money you see them display. You don't know how many times the husband even comes near them. Now you are married to a man who you can't even access anytime. You can't. So if he doesn't call you in a month, if he doesn't call you, don't go. You don't see your husband's face one-on-one. Yet you are married because of kingdom of what? All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know. Because it was like, yes, the law may apply to every other person, but why should the law apply also to the wife? Or to the children? So the children cannot even see their daddy. And I understand that if the man is in the office, they can't access him in the office. In his house too, they can't access him in the house. They can't. I don't like that kind of marriage. Their children will not see their husband's face. So if they want to identify, that there was no phone call. There was no telephone. I have to wait until he calls before I answer him what the children need. Or he will bring you something through an intermediary. All the king's servants and people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come to the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. So what of the love? What of the favor? What happened to it? I said, going down. The despite the mighty celebrations, monumental celebration of her marriage, 30 days she hasn't seen her husband's face. And she can't go in there, and she may die. You can't even say this is my husband, and she may die there. So if the king doesn't call you, you are dead. To approach it, unless he tries to favor you. If he doesn't hold golden scepter, you'll be killed off. But that golden scepter whom he goes out is for you to leave and come. So you don't know which, so you better avoid it. So why are people there? Why not exclude your wife from this draconian law? Because sometimes favor and love are mighty in the beginning, but as days go by, they begin to win. So if they begin to win, it's not by competition that you bring it back, it's by prayers. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. And Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. Meanwhile, the important that Mordecai had already told her not to tell anybody. When you now told her to go and say, ask her people, the person he gave that message to go be wondering which are people. And he now send the person again, say, think not thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall there enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed, and who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? So the reason why God brought you to the kingdom at this point was maybe because of this. Otherwise, Vashti's dethronement was not necessary. The reason why God allowed this to happen was because God knew that a day like this would happen when Haman wanted to destroy all the Jews. So he allowed her to climb the stairs, ladders, and became the queen. Therefore, used the Ruth very well as the queen. Or else, when the sword is released, you and father, what did she get to decide it again? Her parents were already there, she was already an orphan. So this was just a threat to her. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days. Fast for me 3 days. I also am made them fast likewise. So will I go in unto the king just to fast to see your husband. 3 days fasting to go to see your husband's face, irrespective of the reason why I'm going to see your husband. It's not fasting to see his face, fasting to be beloved, fasting to see his face, to assess him again. Not my competition. You can imagine that. I don't have the grace for this kind of thing. I don't have the grace. Those who have it, please do it. 3 days and 3 nights to be able to assess your husband, to ask your husband what you have in mind. You don't even know whatever it is. The whole nation will fast for you to be able to assess the king. The whole nation will fast for you to be able to assess your husband, and every other person assesses one afternoon and night. And so I will go unto the king, which is not according to the law. So it's not according to the law to go to the king. Because you go to the king is only when he calls you, even if you're the wife. He doesn't call you, don't go in there. And if I perish, so that her going to see her husband without authorization will lead to her death. That's what she's trying to say. This was the queen that was fully graced and favored before. What happened? So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded. So he went and fasted for 3 days. For Esther to be able to assess her husband, 3 days of fasting. For Esther to be able to see her husband, 3 days of fasting. The reason for seeing the husband is not even yet known. Not for her to be able to go and not die, and not be killed to see her husband. If you have lost favor in your husband's house, pray to God. If it requires fasting, you do. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. So she went to dress after the fasting for 3 days. She went to dress her best royal apparel to be able to see her husband. Hey, one of my one of my aunts, her husband is a very, very wealthy man, very wealthy, extremely wealthy. But then my dad said the man was giving her a car every Christmas for Christmas presents. He really is a car. She's also a medical doctor, so now it's not that she didn't go to school. She's medical doctor, she has her own hospital. So it's not as if she's poor. And then my father was now teasing her one day. I said, hey, Auntie Philo, see you, God has so blessed you. Say you're now enjoying every year they buy a car. Your siblings are all abroad. My brother has built for you a massive house in your village. Everywhere, all your children are going to school abroad. All this and all that. Her daughter also went to Harvard. She read medicine too. My aunt to my dad said that all of you are rejoiced, all of you are envying me because of the wealth you see displayed. That this wealth is a bondage for her. That she would have loved that she had married a barrel pusher, so that she would say, my husband said. That at this age she cannot say my husband said. All she can do is buy the thing she wants with money. She has children, 2 boys, 2 girls. Sorry, 2 boys, 3 girls. But none of these things mean anything to her without her husband. Yes, he buys me a car, gives me money, take my children abroad for me, but I don't see my husband. You see that he doesn't stay in Nigeria most of the time. He may come to his country and say, I'm going to spend 2 months now. The next day he say to them, even that time he comes into the country, the whole world will be, that's how visitors will be streaming in the house. Because an international figure. That's how every people will be streaming. He even comes back with several international people from different countries, come to the foreigners, with different foreigners. And that's how the meeting of this, so that even when he comes back to the house, will you even see him? Just greet him in the parlor when they are meeting and you go. That he may even come and say he's going to spend 2 months in Nigeria. The next thing is that next morning he tells that he's leaving with the next available flight. Say why? There's an urgent call in so country and he's going. He said, she was tired of that. My brother don't talk about it. All the things about it. He said, it's not about money. It's not about the wealth and fame and name. And the respect and the that comes in from being married to your brother. But then the issue that I don't have a marriage. It's just ceremony. Just ceremony. So you see, she wore the best clothes, drove the best cars and everything. Yes. That's what he wants. She should be community of faith. But I'm a relational person. I want somebody that will be around me. So not somebody that I have to fast for 3 days to be able to access. I don't like publicity. As a man, I refuse to marry just because the man was I don't like public figures. I refuse to marry him because I knew that even at that time he was really a serious-minded public figure. I said no. I wanted some measure of privacy. And it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal palace. It was so when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court that she obtained favor. She now obtained it. It was no longer residential. She had to receive it. She received favor. What is obtained? She received favor in his sight. But no longer so. You see now, those of us that have favor with their husband all the time, you see that don't commonize it to. Some people have to obtain it. They have to fast to obtain it. Some people have to fast to obtain that favor. She obtained favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near her husband and touched the top of the scepter. Ceremony. So she obtained favor after 3 days fasting. If it requires you to fast for you to get access to your husband, please do it. So you can maintain your house. If you require fasting to be able to obtain favor, get it. If it was there, she didn't need to obtain it. It was not very residential with her. She had to obtain it in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. And said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther? Queen Esther. And see, official, you see, and what is thy request? It shall be given, even given thee to the half of the kingdom. So the favor she obtained now made the king to say, anything you ask, I'm going to give it to you. Same thing happened. I want that Salome danced. She obtained favor before Herod. He said, anything you ask. So when you obtain favor from somebody, when you ask for things, they give you things that are very, very, he said, even to the half of the kingdom. When you obtain favor in marriage, you don't have to write anything. If you want to buy sweets, it has to be written on paper. Tom, you write it. Said the king said that because I have obtained favor, if you ask anything difficult, I will do it for you. Even to the half of our kingdom, meaning that whatever, no matter how difficult you are asking, the favor you have obtained from me will make me give to you what I can't give to others. No king jokes with his kingdom, but because of that favor you have obtained, I can give you half of my kingdom. And Esther answered, if it seemed good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Even for to eat the food prepared for your husband, you have to beg for it. If it seemed good unto the king, so if this favor you are saying that I will take is real, if it is real, then come and eat my food. Can you imagine? To buy the king's heart. Some people say they use food to entice their husband. That's what the people say. Because some people say that the way to a man's heart is the stomach. For those who is the stomach. The husband's is not the stomach. But those who is the stomach. First they will say, I mentioned such a thing to my husband. I don't know how I said it. He said it's not for him anyway. Then one day I went and cooked something. I was trying to behave like every other person tried to behave. I wanted to ask for something. No, I wanted to ask for something. I just cooked something and gave him. He looked at it. I said that this food was highly suspicious. I wasn't going to eat it. That's until I told him why I cooked that food for him. I said no. He said no. I have known that if females when they want to entangle their husbands, they cook special food. Like Esther was trying to entangle the man. My husband told me that I'm not a person you can entangle with food. Just say, I said I will not touch this food until he said what he wants, so that I won't finish eating it and commit myself. I said, you can not say, no, say it too, because I'm telling you to say it before I eat the food. So you see, people can be say to get people from your husband, you not cook food and make him happy. That's the kind of thing people do. If it works for you, you go ahead and do it. Just not what works for you in your own marriage and do it. My husband doesn't believe that you can cook anything you want to cook on this, he doesn't believe it. He's a very relational person. Anything you want to say, we can discuss it. You don't have, there's no price there. You don't use baits to talk to ourselves. But if your own says that this is food, if you have found that your own is when you eat good food, or personally, I'm not even a taking out person. I'm not the person that you can take out. I don't like going out. So there's nothing you can. It's not if I want to discuss with you. The same thing with me. If we will discuss not based on food, but if your own husband, what gives him you favor before him is cooking food for him, go cook it. Find out what works for your marriage and make it work. Find out what works for your marriage and make it work. Say, Esther said, that I know that they say that the way to a man's heart is the stomach. So if I tell you anything, let me give you what you want to eat. She hasn't been cooking this food because the king had still what I was cooking. So the day that she wanted to ask for from her, she will organize cooking by herself. And Esther answered, if it seemed good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day into the banquet that I prepared for him. And the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther has said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said said unto Esther at the banquet of wine. The first one was banquet of wine. What is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee, and what is thy request? Even to the half of my kingdom shall be performed. He said, anything you ask, I will do it for you, even if it is difficult. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition, to fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall pray for them. And I will do tomorrow as the king has said. Say, I want to give you food, so much so, I give you food. You eat and work for this my marriage. So I have to give you food so much so that you have eaten very well. You can't tell me no. To obtain favor, you can't tell me no. If I find favor in the sight of my king, so come to eat. After eating today, you come again tomorrow. And eat again tomorrow. After eating tomorrow, when your heart is now merry, I can now tell you what I want to tell you. It's because the food I've given you will have entered from your stomach to your heart and gingered your heart to favor me. In chapter 7 verse 1 to 10, chapter 7 verse 1 to 10, just to show you that even sometimes you labor for that favor. Sometimes the favor you're asking for, you pray and labor for it. There are things you do that provoke favor. As you pray for the favor, you also labor for it. Esther chapter 7 from verse 1 to 10. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther, the queen. And the king said, this is the third time after he had that. And the king said unto Esther on the second day, on the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther, and it shall be granted thee? And what is thy request, and it shall be performed, even to half of the kingdom? It's actually a figure of speech, but it means whatever, no matter how difficult you're asking me, I'm going to do it. Then Esther the queen answered, said, if I have found, she always puts if. Why if? But it's a question. Why if? Not because I have found favor. It says, if I have found favor in your sight. The same thing that Moses used to negotiate with the Lord. God loves to tell Moses, you have found favor. I said, if I have, then go with us. If he said, if I have favor, there is the evidence. That's what Moses told God. God said, I will do this thing you're asking me, but I have favor in your sight. I know you by name. Say, if you know me by name, why can't I announce that you're not going with us? He said, because I have favor in your sight. This was God that was blowing hot. He would never go with them again. Not those children. And I'll go with you again. For our sinners, stiff naked. I will send my angel to go before you. I don't want to go with you because I will kill you on the way because I'm very angry with you. All this and all that. Blah, blah, blah. Moses now said, and then after that, after getting very angry, God now began to change and say, Moses, I know you by name. Moses simply keyed into it. So you say, you know me by name, I found this myself here. And you say, if it is actually true, I found this myself, why will you not go with us? How will you know that you have found grace in your sight? That you go with us. If you have found grace in your sight, then go with us. God said, I will do this thing because I know you by name. So if you don't want to go with us from this place, favor has evidence. Favor has evidence. That was what Moses was trying to tell the Lord. That's Exodus chapter 3. And that's also what Esther was telling her husband, that favor has evidence. If I find grace for yourself, there is evidence. So that's what I want to now exploit. I want to exploit the evidence of the favor you said I found in your sight. Then Esther the queen answered, do you see that it was progressive from raising the golden staff so that she could touch it, to sitting down with him and using with him? All the while it's just discussion. You finish talking and you go back to your room, you go back to my place. Then Esther the queen answered, the queens are suffering. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, if you please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, my people at my request. For we are sold, and I and my people to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. He said, I'm asking if I have favor in your sight, spare my life, because Mordecai said, don't think that your being in the king's palace excludes you. When the time is up, you will know that people know that you are a Jew. They will kill you in that place where you are. You can't hide there. You can't escape because you are the queen. When the time for slaughter comes, they will kill all the Jews, including you that is in the palace. So don't think that you have found a heaven where you're going to escape while other Jews are killed. Because you can't talk to your husband. Because you cannot approach him unless he holds the golden scepter for you. So Esther now knew that even as a queen, she was not secured. She was not secured because Jew. Even though Haman had not yet known that Esther was a Jew. So, yes, so when they start killing all the Jews, you will be involved. I will even mention that you're a Jew, Esther. Then the king answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he and where is he that does presume in his heart to do so, to kill you and your people? Because he didn't even know that Esther was a Jew. He had hidden it. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. When the king was signing it, what he was thinking about, because Haman said he was going to give you so much money. Therefore, you didn't know the intention of what you were signing. He was going to give you money to estimate some people. And you trusted whatever he told you. You didn't want to make inquiry. That's how gullible kings are. If the king's counselors are wicked people, the king will also be wicked. That's what the Bible says. If the counselors of the king are wicked, if you are his wife, be careful. Because the iniquity he is going to do will end, your children will inherit it. When the counselors of the king are wicked, he will also be wicked. The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. The Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. The king, arising from the banquet of wine in his draughts, went into the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make request for his wife to Esther the queen. For he saw that there was an evil determined against him by the king. Okay, so your own life is important to you, but you're going to estimate a race because you were angry. And the king returned out of the palace garden into the palace of the banquet of wine, and Haman was falling upon the bed whereon Esther was kneeling down to beg, because he was begging near Esther, kneeling down on the bed. Then the king said, will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. That's how they now destroyed Haman. That's he who wanted to kill the Jews, now died before the Jews. In chapter 8 from verse 1, on that day, the king Ahasuerus gave the house of Haman the Jews' enemy into Mordecai came before the king, for Esther has told what he was unto her. So he now, it was at this period that Esther now told the king whom Mordecai meant to her that he was the uncle who killed the foster father. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. The king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, gave it to Mordecai. So Mordecai now replaced Haman. The favor that Esther received now translated to even her relatives, who was Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. So Haman became promoted courtesy of Esther. Something that happened when they debated Daniel. Daniel now begged the king, say, look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, raise them too. And Esther spoke yet again before the king, fell down at his feet. Do you see that? The thing you call favor is not actually cheap. Favor is like charm, but it's not cheap. And Esther spoke yet again before the king and fell down at his feet. As the husband. But at this point, about kingdom matters. So when it has to do with kingdom matters, kingdom protocols must be observed, even if the person you're talking to is your spouse. When it's ministerial or kingdom matters, protocols must be observed, even though the person in question is your spouse. It's your spouse. So you leave whatever you're doing to your inner chamber. When you come to the throne or the palace or the ministry, ministerial guidelines and etiquettes or palatial guidelines and etiquettes must be enforced. That's why Esther cannot just talk. Remember how Bathsheba went to talk to the king when the issue of the kingdom was involved. She came and knelt down, O king, live forever. That's first King chapter 1. This was the Bathsheba that David was dying for that time was dying for. At the time when David was very old, she was displaced, and they got the Abishag, a younger girl. And she even had to, the Bathsheba now had to get permission to come to the king and bow before the king to talk to the king on kingdom matters. Don't even use favor to destroy kingdom principles. It won't work. If the husband is the principal, the husband is the king, the husband is the queen, is this and that, the husband is so and so. Live a relationship in the bedroom, in the house. When it comes to the kingdom, follow things kingdom way. She fell down at his feet, the same way that Bathsheba knelt down to talk to her husband when it was about the kingdom issue that Adonijah had appointed himself. Yes, he promised me that Solomon was going to be the king, and now if Adonijah becomes king, will kill I and Solomon. After making so much announcement that Solomon will be the king, now Adonijah is the one ruling. What are you saying? Have you changed your mind? She knelt down to say so. And she, you know how Nathan fetched the parable to be able to bring that. Nathan was the one that put the words in her mouth to go and do it. The same thing happened also when Joab was the commander-in-chief of the army, when he was trying to go and bring Absalom back. So he went to fetch a woman, a wise woman, and put words in her mouth. By the time she asked, the woman now came and got whatever she was asking. The man now asked, is Joab's hand? King now asked, is Joab's hand? Yes, yes. The man called Joab. He came and said, granted it, and he knelt down. Kingdom principles is kingdom principles. Don't mix the two. Your husband is the pastor. Respect him in the church. Yeah, pastors who does not automatically make you a pastor. If you want to be a pastor, go to the training, go to the discipline, go to the raising and become raised. But don't think that you make the church becomes your parlor, extension of your kitchen. No way. She knelt down. The favor you have got to maintain it. Don't spoil it by bad behavior. Don't spoil the favor you have gotten by bad character. If you have worked it down, don't tear it apart by bad character. And Esther spoke to him again and fell down at his feet and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite and his device that he had devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, stood before her husband. But this is a kingdom principle. So your bedroom is not what is involved. What is involved is kingdom principle. So don't spoil the favor you have gotten by familiarity with your husband. Don't spoil it. You receive favor from your husband. Don't spoil it with familiarity. And said, if it please the king, and if I have found favor, he will say, if I have. Don't presume on it. It's not by presumption. You always ask for it afresh. If you have found favor in his sight, and the thing seems right before the king, and I be pleasing in if I'm pleasing, if the love is there, if the grace is there, if favor is there, please think about this I'm telling you. And I be pleasing to his eyes. Let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, because Haman is dead. But letters are still standing. The things that Haman wrote were still there, though the man that wrote them was dead. So it will still stand because the laws of ministration cannot be altered. If I be using it, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews, which I know the king's promise. How can I endure to see the evil that shall become upon my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? You see how favor and wisdom. You need wisdom to sustain the favor you have received. Sometimes foolishness can make you lose favor. If I see, I didn't favor there. The words I would have seen from the Bible, where the Bible says that wisdom is important in getting favor. See that? You see the wisdom she was applying here. She's applying wisdom here to be able to secure something from the king. Don't use foolishness to destroy the favor that God has given you. You have labored in prayers to get the favor. You have labored physically to get the favor. Don't use foolishness to destroy it. How can I enjoy to see the evil that shall come into my? She didn't go and start talking. She didn't use Jezebelism. She didn't become like Jezebel, who will now dethrone Ahab and be the one writing everything. She didn't do that. Give respect to your spouse in the post he or she occupies. Don't become Jezebel. Don't become Jezebel. And the king, she could have done what Jezebel did. Took letters in the name of Ahab. Took letters and wrote them and used Ahab's signature to sign it. That's Jezebelism. That's witchcraft. You didn't do it. Favor is not witchcraft. Don't practice witchcraft. Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen and to Mordecai the Jew, behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he had laid his hand upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it to the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring may not no man reverse. You see? Do it officially. But Jezebel will not do this. Jezebel will hijack the letter. Jezebel doesn't even require favor. Jezebel hijacks it. Doesn't go to process. King, why are you not smiling? Yes, yeah? Are you a king of Israel? She wrote letters in the king's name and used the ring to sign it. But this one went through the correct procedure. Wisdom. Not witchcraft. Wisdom. Sustain the favor with wisdom, not witchcraft. Sustain the favor you have received from your husband, from the influential people, with wisdom, not witchcraft. Write it also for the Jews as it liketh you in the king's name, and send it to the king's ring. For the writing, okay, then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month Sivan, on the 20th day thereof. It was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants and the deputies and the rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, in 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing. And he wrote in the King Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by post on horseback. So this is not a very good thing to do, because thank God that Mordecai was a God-fearing man. If he was a wicked man, he would do something. So how can you give someone just to write anything you want and he's going to seal it? Don't give that kind of blank check. Try to use the relation. And you see eventually how it was written, and they shared it to every place, and the Jews were now happy, rejoicing that the things written against them, they were now, at least they're now given opportunity to fight for their lives. They were just going to be killed up and down without resistance. But now say, fight and defend yourselves. That was what the kind wrote, and several other things he wrote down there. Even though it shouldn't be. That's not how to run a kingdom. Because that's the way they introduce all kind of wicked laws. By the time that's the way Haman introduced his own, and just told him to go. He went and sealed it. That's the same way that in chapter 6, in Daniel, they introduced a nonsense law. The king said it was okay. They sealed it. And then when it was time to throw them into Daniel, the lion's den, that was when his eyes opened. Don't, if you're a functionary, or in highly position, GS, GO, be careful what people do in your name. By the time you find out the consequence of what they did in your name, it will be difficult to reverse. If you look at 2 Kings chapter, if 24, John 24, from verse 1, it says, when a man had taken a wife and married her, so that time you married her, you loved her, she had favor in your sight. When a man had taken a wife and married her, and it comes to pass that she find no favor in his eyes anymore. She found it before, but the love now not sorry. He being a polygamous man, as they say. Now they don't want particular one. They tasted the fruit of this one, so you now want to taste another one. And it came to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he had found some uncleanness in her. Then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hands and send her out of his house. You see now how they began divorce here. I don't like her anymore, therefore I send her away. She doesn't please me anymore. Like when I say I get offended, all manner of nonsense things. Once you don't like in fact, as you're going out, you now saw a woman that looks better than a wife. Just come and say, hey, Kichi, what is it? And she said, hey, you just do it like I did and send her away. So for anything, that was why Peter was very offended when the Lord was cancelled. Peter, who knows which among the disciples he was already eyeing small. Waiting for after the crusade, he will now say, hey, Mama, so. Was it true that, Uncle, the Lord said that we cannot? Peter said, if I cannot divorce my wife at all, then there's no point getting married. Because he had in mind that now that, initially he was catching fish. Now he's catching men. There are now many females. So he had abundance of ways to choose from. And the Lord said, no, you cannot do it. This was a woman that he married before. A time came now that something, nonsense thing happened, and he now said, you don't want to send her. You want to give her a bill of divorcement. Because you didn't like her anymore. For any reason. When she departed, is better out of his house. She may go and be another man's wife. So someone else now, person I don't like, someone else may like her, and then marry her too. And later husband hates her. See, the people who have ill will, who have ill favor, no matter where they stay, even if they marry another person, the person will still not love them. It's a problem. So you see, not even a number of people have married and divorced, and at each time the same thing is happening. Ill favor. Ill favor. Marital disfavor follows you. Marital disfavor follows you. Married but disfavored. So that any man you enter his house may like you the first day, after some days, and what do you do? Nothing. What do you do? Nothing. I don't want her anymore. So that is it. Favor procures good things for you, especially good marriage. Favor also success good marriage. If you read 1 Kings 11 verse 19, 1 Kings 11 verse 19 says, and Hadad found great favor in the sight of Pharaoh. So that great favor he found. How did he reward her? So that he gave him to wife. He gave me a wife, a wonderful woman as wife. That he gave him to wife, the sister of his own wife, the sister of Tabernes, the queen. So, marital favor. Somebody can favor you. Favor is very important in marriage. It is dangerous for you to enter marriage ill-favored, disfavored. Because you just come, you see that what you are in, you are just controversial in that marriage. No matter anything you do to your husband, you do this, you say he doesn't want, if you're a clear man base, you say he doesn't want him and base, he wants base I am. Now go base I am, say no, he doesn't want it. That's how it ought to be saying every time. Nothing you do to make him happy. If you have lost favor in your marriage, I think we should take it to God in prayer. Esther took her own to God in prayer. This man has not even come in for 30 days now. And yet I'm supposed to be his wife. And the same rule he applies to every person, he applies to me as well. No, this man will be his wife. So I take it to God, him in prayer. To God in prayer. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Wife with marriage is a good thing. You should procure your favor. But if you is ill-favored and enter marriage just for marriage's sake, they'll be tossing you about. That's how they'll be passaging you from one person to the other. And if you come out from that person and marry another person, the same thing happens because it's a spirit following you. It's ill favor following you. Marital disfavor. Proverbs 2 verse 1 says, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. Having favor with your spouse is better than enjoying his money. Having favor with your spouse is better than just marrying to enjoy his money. Because those things, favor will give you much more than those things. Those things, the silver and gold are good, but favor is better than silver and gold. So that your husband's silver and gold, you may not even access them if you don't have favor with him. If you have favor with your husband, that silver and gold will always come your way. You will be tempted to marry for him. And so we'll go to God and say, Lord, today we're asking you for favor in the place of marriage. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. Marriage is a good thing. Marriage is honorable. It's not good for man to be alone. But there's no point in marrying somebody who does not value you, nor favor you, nor have grace in his or her sight. We ask the Lord that whatever has happened to diminish the favor in our marriages, if there be any loophole where favor leaked out, for which each time we want to come to our husbands asking for something, we have to fast to ask our husband for something. Have to fast and pray to approach him, knowing that this man is difficult. This man is difficult, he will not agree. Meanwhile, initially he was agreeing to him. Oh, this woman is a terrible woman. How can I even tell her this? We ask, oh Lord, that the oil of favor be poured in our marriages once again, Lord. Let the wine of our marriage not finish. Let the favor in marriage not finish. Let them be growing day by day. Let the favor and understanding and the character and wisdom that carry favor be increasing in our lives, Lord. May we labor to maintain our marriages. May we work hard and not allowing the favor to dissipate, the wine to dissipate, the grace to dissipate. We will not come to a level, Lord, where everything we get from our husband or our spouses is by labor. Lord, today, introduce favor, give us favor before our spouses. Give us favor before our spouses, Lord. For the females that despise their husbands, Lord, just because maybe they're not rich, they're not as big as they ought to. Maybe they married them because the time was against them. These people were big ladies before, but because time was against them, they not married for the sake of marriage, and yet brought the despise to that marriage. Comparing the man with people outside who you should have married, who didn't marry you. I ask, Lord, for both males and females. Wherever the oil of favor has leaked out, Lord, may the opening be sealed. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Lord, pour favor that will last. Pour favor that will last. Pour favor that will last. Give us favor. Give us grace. Give us love. Give us liking. Give us pleasure in the eyes of our spouses. That the marriages may be enjoyed, not endured. May be enjoyed, but not endured. And whatever it is that is leaking our favor, Lord, may we discover it and abort it in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Whatever it is we do that's making us to lose favor for our spouse, Lord, may we find it out and abort it in Jesus' name. Amen. Till all the days of this marriages, Lord, all the days of our marriages, let favor, let grace, let understanding be the coats, the foundations, the roof, the walls of our marriages. That together with our spouses, Lord, we may fulfill your purpose for us, purpose for the marriage, purpose for us on this earth. Lord, please do this for us, Lord. And when the results start pouring, Lord, receive all the glory, receive all the honor and adoration. For in Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.